My name is Kathy. Ever since I was little, I loved my dad dearly. He was the kind of man who always put his family first and himself last. He ensured my brother and I never lacked anything. And he took care of my stay-at-home mom too. He would hand over his entire paycheck to her, never complaining, even when he didn't have a dime to his name. Thanks to my dad, my brother and I lived fulfilling lives. I thought our family of four would continue to live this way forever. I thought so. But life can be so cruel. Suddenly, I lost my dad, the man I loved so much. It was just when I was in my senior year of high school and my brother was in 8th grade. That day, like any other, Dad left for work as usual, but then he suddenly collapsed at his workplace and was rushed to the hospital. By the time my brother and I got to the hospital, Dad was already gone. Mom arrived an hour later. My brother and I were sobbing uncontrollably, but Mom? She was strangely calm. She was shocked by the sudden death of Dad, sure, but she shed no tears. Mom, what are we going to do now Dad's gone? I asked her. Mom was a stay-at-home wife, which meant she had no income. That means no income. Without Dad, how could our family survive? But Mom didn't answer my question. Mom, are you listening? Dad's dead. Then Mom let out a big sigh and bluntly said, "What's done is done. Can you stop crying so loud? It's giving me a headache." Wait, what? What did she say? What's done is done? About Dad's death? Sure, no one could have predicted or prevented such a thing, but to talk about Dad, who supported us all these years, like that, is just too cruel. For the first time, I felt a surge of disgust towards my mom. I had always felt that Mom was spoiled and overly reliant on Dad, but to maintain her indifference even in such a situation, Mom laughed scornfully at my glaring face. What are you glaring at? It's not like it's my fault he's dead. And so, our nightmare began. Because as soon as Dad's funeral was over, Mom started bringing strange men into our home. We were living in a rented condominium, and the room that Dad used to use was taken over by one of these men. Our everyday life took a dramatic turn. Mom and her lover treated my brother and me like nuisances. They would raise their voices at us if anything didn't go their way. Mom just watched with a smirk without scolding the man. The hellish situation went on for months, and my brother and I were at our breaking point. Mom had always managed all of Dad's salary, saving a portion of it in her own bank account while cutting down Dad's allowance. It seemed she was using that money to have fun with her lover. We couldn't take this life anymore. I had to change our situation for my brother's sake. With this in mind, I decided to look for a part-time job. I was ready to give up on college, planning to work immediately after high school. As I was contemplating all this, a man claiming to be a lawyer showed up one day. "This was commissioned by your father before his passing." He then pulled out Dad's will. Dad left a will? Mom appeared taken aback by the lawyer's sudden visit, unaware of the truth he was about to unveil. The lawyer clarified the situation to us. "Your father had realized that something was wrong with his health early on, but he believed that if I don't work, we'll be in a bind. So, I want to leave something behind for a rainy day." As the lawyer unsealed our father's will, he explained it in layman terms. "Your father intended to divide his 20 million fortune by giving 10 million to Mom and 5 million each to you kids." Mom, upon hearing this, eagerly addressed the lawyer. "So when do I get the money?" "As soon as all the official proceedings are complete. The funds should be transferred shortly." Without skipping a beat, Mom prepared a pen and signed the necessary documents. The talk was complex for us kids, but we decided to accept our father's legacy gratefully. A few days later, my brother and I made the decision to leave the house. I started to consider what would be essential for us living on our own and what the bare minimum actions would be. If we were leaving the house, we needed to find a new place to live. But would anyone be willing to rent a property to high school students? While pondering, I remembered that the parents of a middle school friend owned an apartment. The next day, I visited their house promptly, explained the situation, and asked, "So, since we have our father's legacy and I plan to start a part-time job, could you introduce us to a good apartment?" In response, my friend's parents proposed, "Since we can't legally lease to high school students, how about we rent you a room in our apartment? You just need to pay the monthly rent." Yes, I'd be grateful. Thank you so much. My friend's parents were worried until the end, but when they perceived my strong determination, they finally encouraged me, saying, "You can count on us anytime you need help." That night, I brought up the matter to Mom. "Mom, Sam and I are planning to leave the house soon." What are you planning to do?" "We're going to live together, just the two of us." I supposed our affairs didn't matter to Mom in the least. Without even looking at me, Mom dismissed us nonchalantly. Well, do as you please. I couldn't care less what happens to you two. It'll actually be better without you two around, so you won't get in the way of my time with him. At that moment, my barely lingering affection for Mom crumbled completely. Okay, I understand. Thanks for everything, Mom. With a heavy dose of sarcasm towards Mom, I left the house I'd lived in for years. The start of living with my brother, this turned out to be way more challenging than I imagined. Early morning paper routes, then school, and a part-time job at the supermarket after returning home. I didn't want to touch the money left by our father, so I tried to cover living expenses with my part-time wage as much as possible. At the supermarket, they gave me the box meal scheduled for disposal. That became our dinner. I knew my brother, being a middle schooler, would want some fun, so I gave him a modest monthly allowance. Here you go, Sam. This is your allowance for the month.
But you hardly spend anything on yourself.
Don't worry about me. Having fun is an essential experience too, you know? Despite his reservations, I insisted on giving my brother his allowance. I felt guilty about the financial constraints he had to endure because of me, so I wanted to do at least the bare minimum for him. Our life continued like that for a while, and before we knew it, it was fall. The buzz among my classmates was all about where they were going to college. To me, those conversations felt like such a luxury. I couldn't think of anything but where I would work after graduation and how I would help my brother get to college, because it was the only thing I could think of. One day, I happened to have the day off from my part-time job. My brother and I were enjoying a leisurely lunch at home when the apartment doorbell rang. Who could it be? When I opened the door, there was Mom. Mom? Don't you dare call me that. Now, where's your banking card? Banking card? Mom suddenly barged in, demanding the banking card, and I was totally lost. She ignored my confusion and shouted at me to hurry up and hand it over. Wait a minute. Why so sudden? Even though I tried to ask, she wouldn't listen. She even went so far as to march straight into the house, rummaging through the rooms.
Hey, Mom, stop it!
My brother tried to stop her, but she just pushed him aside with a curt "shut up." I rushed to my brother's side, pleading with Mom to stop. Eventually, she found the banking card in a drawer. After checking the untouched balance in the account, she smirked. Oh, there's quite a bit left. You're just like me, doing so well. How admirable. Disgusted, I glared at her, and that must have irked her because she shoved me next. What's with that look? Just do as I say, I'm your mother. She left with our banking cards. I felt so helpless and sank to the floor. Why? After all the hard work to get this far, why does she have to ruin everything again? The peaceful life with my brother that I had finally managed to grab. I worked so hard without even touching our father's inheritance, all for my brother's future. Sis, my brother comforted me as I cried. I felt pathetic for not being able to protect my only brother. Just then I remembered something. The one letter that the lawyer had given me when he visited a while back. He asked me to give this to you without letting Mom know. Open this only if you're in trouble, he said. The lawyer, seemingly aware of this situation with Mom, had discreetly handed me an envelope. Life with my brother had started right after, and in all the bustle, I completely forgot about it. I opened the letter from my deceased father and read its contents. It was an address. It was somewhere far away from where we lived, an area completely unknown to us. However, I figured there must be a reason my father left it. I decided to go to that place with my brother. We got on a plane, and then we took a taxi from the airport. What awaited us was a house with a grand gate, something you'd only see in movies or TV shows.
What is this gigantic house?
My brother seemed overwhelmed by the sheer size of the house. As we stood there, a burly man came out from the inside. Who might you be? We found a letter from our father. Your address was in it. As we explained the situation, the man began to speak to someone on the phone. After a brief moment, the man changed his demeanor and said, Please come in, inviting us into the mansion. In the great room to which we were guided, an elderly woman was sitting alone. Upon seeing us, she greeted us. Kathy and Sam, right? Nice to meet you. I'm your grandmother. Grandmother? We were shocked and we couldn't help but exclaim loudly. We had never heard any stories about our father's family, nor did we even know if we had a grandmother. Not just that, but who would have thought that our father's childhood home would be such an impressive estate? Since you've come, does that mean my son has passed away? Her son, that is, our father. I gave a small nod to our grandmother. Interrupting me, grandmother took out a large bag and handed it to me. This is something your father left with me. He said if they ever come to visit, give this to them. When I opened the bag, it was packed with countless bundles of bills, the likes of which I'd never seen before. Ignoring our surprise, grandmother began to explain. We had a falling out a long time ago, and for a while we didn't talk at all, but about a year and a half ago he suddenly showed up and left this bag. According to her, our father's family, in other words, our grandmother, was part of a long-established gang. Our father had refused to take over the family business and had cut ties with his grandmother after a big fight. When we heard it was a gang, it all made sense. That grand entrance, of course. It was a surprise to learn that our father's family was involved in a gang, but this turn of events was just as astonishing. Perhaps our father knew about Mom's cheating habits. Even when it came to the inheritance, there is a limit to what we as minors could do. The allocation of the money was likely just for formality's sake. What our father really wanted to leave us was that letter with grandmother's address on it. Our father had been planning this in case anything happened to us. I was moved to tears by our father's kindness. I took the time to explain everything. How he had been treated poorly by Mom and her lover, how Mom had taken our father's inheritance. After hearing everything, grandmother told us, "You don't need to give up on life because of your mother. I'll get that money back for you. You two need to live your lives." With gratitude, we took the bag of money our father left us and returned to our apartment. With this money, I can let my brother go to college as much as he wants. In addition, our grandmother even promised to pay for my college tuition. Thanks to our father and grandmother, my once abandoned hope of attending college has been fulfilled.
Sis, I'm so happy for you.
My younger brother giving me a warm smile. He too must have been holding up for a long time. Sam, it's thanks to you sticking with me that we got through this. Thank you. As I thanked him, he shyly sniffled. A few days later, grandmother visited our apartment, returning the banking card Mom had taken from us. She had used one of her employees to locate Mom and get our card back. Indeed, quite the gangster. Thinking about it can be a little scary, but amusing at the same time. I made that woman promise she won't bother you two ever again. You can live in peace now. Thank you, grandmother. But how? That's not something children need to worry about. From now on, live your lives to the fullest. Before leaving, grandmother gave us those encouraging words. There's a postscript to this story. Mom's lover, actually, he was after Mom's money. When grandmother took back the bank card, he promptly dumped Mom. Having exhausted our father's inheritance, Mom is now desperately searching for a job. A woman who has been a housewife all her life from now on will undoubtedly be challenging. However, thanks to my grandmother, peace returned to our lives. I passed the entrance exams for my first choice university, and I'm still working part-time, trying to avoid using our father's money as much as possible. I later entered the workforce and my brother started college. Now that we've reached this point, we're safe. Childhood was long and tough, but there were kind adults watching over us. Father's lawyer, the couple who rented us the apartment, our gangster grandmother, and our beloved father. Dad, we're off. Every morning, my brother and I pay respects to our father's portrait. We'll keep supporting each other. So please, watch over us from heaven, Dad. Somehow, it felt like Dad's portrait was smiling.
If you don't willingly give up this house, it's divorce.
I was suddenly confronted by my husband. This place holds precious memories with my parents. I have no intention of giving it up, of course. However, as if toying with my feelings, he makes threats. What should I do? Lost and confused, I reached out to my father for help. My name is Ashley, and I'm 30 years old. I support the household as a full-time housewife. It's almost 2 years since I married my husband, Gary. For my sake, he's been working diligently since I left my job after getting married. However, after the death of my father-in-law, my mother-in-law decided to move into the apartment where we lived, and the ordinary routine was quickly disrupted. To my surprise, I was told of my mother-in-law's move the day before we moved in together.
Oh, by the way, Mom will be coming here from tomorrow.
My husband, returning home, casually declared. Huh? Does that mean she's coming to visit?
Not coming to visit, but moving into this house. So, take care of things like cleaning.
Moving? Is your mother-in-law going to live in this house?
Dad's gone, so it's only natural, right? If things continue as they are, my mother will be alone, at home.
Looking back now, I had a slight sense of unease about my husband's way of thinking from this time. In a typical scenario, there should have been a conversation with me, the daughter-in-law. However, in my case, cohabitation was decided without my awareness. My husband was right. My mother-in-law arrived the next day at noon with a large amount of luggage. It's been a while, Mom. Please, come in. For some reason, my mother-in-law seems unhappy with me as I greet her. Hey, Ashley. Normally, shouldn't you have come to pick me up at the station? Well, I didn't know when you would arrive, so... In such cases, you should have contacted me, right? Honestly, you're so thoughtless. I'm sorry. This is why daughters-in-law are useless. Muttering to herself, my mother-in-law plopped down on the sofa. She acts as if she's the master of this house. The next day, the scale of her sarcastic attacks began. It started right after my husband left for work. Ashley, what are you leisurely doing the dishes for? Laundry in the morning is the priority, isn't it? I'm sorry. I'll prioritize after finishing these dishes. I'm telling you, our priorities are different. After having breakfast at home, the first thing you should do is the laundry. Even if you say that, just be quiet and listen to what I say. A daughter-in-law talking back to her mother-in-law. What kind of upbringing did you have? I have my own daily routine, but for some reason, she can't seem to understand it. I'm not saying I won't do it at all. It seems my mother-in-law just doesn't like my way of doing things. Even if I do things as she says, she still finds something to complain about, especially during the day when I'm alone with my mother-in-law. One day I came up with a secret plan to get out of living with my mother-in-law. The secret is to move into the house my father gave me. My parents started living in the countryside 2 months ago when my father took early retirement. So they handed over the house they have been living into me. Luckily, it's not far from the current apartment I live in. We have been discussing moving to the house soon. Continuing to live with my mother-in-law is becoming too much for me, so I thought it might be a good idea for my husband and me to move out early. With that in mind, I decided to propose it to my husband right away. Gary, can I talk to you for a moment? There's something I want to discuss.
Discuss? What's wrong?
You know, the house my dad gave us? How about moving there?
Oh, that house? Well, we were planning to talk about it eventually, but why the sudden interest?
The thing is, I'm not getting along well with your mom.
Huh? Mom never mentioned anything like that.
Anyway, living with your mom is getting really tough for me. So I'm seriously considering moving.
I see.
Well, the distance isn't that far, and it might be okay for your mom to continue living in this apartment. Surprisingly, my husband accepted the idea of moving without much hesitation. He discussed it with his mom, and a week later, the moving process was underway. Honestly, I thought my mother-in-law would be more reluctant, but she easily agreed to our move. Not only that, she bid us farewell with a big smile as we left. Gary? Ashley? See you later. I'm sorry for the sudden decision to move. It's fine. You received your father's wisdom, right? It's the right thing to do. Thank you. If you'd like, please come and visit us, Mom. Sure. The distance is short, and Ashley, make sure to drop by regularly. Yes. After finishing the formalities, we headed to our new place. I felt relieved inside. No more sarcastic remarks from my mother-in-law. Now I can live freely just like before. I was prepared to be opposed to it, but I'm glad I took the plunge and consulted a locksmith. But the story doesn't end here. Even though I've distanced myself from my mother-in-law, now the issue is that my husband's return home late. If it was just coming home late, it would be one thing. But there are days when he doesn't come home all day. The reason is not overtime or drinking parties. It's because he's visiting his mother. My husband says it's because he's worried about his mom, but it happens too often. He often eats over there without informing me or doesn't come home for a whole day. With each of these incidents, my daily routine is falling apart. This can't go on like this. One day I brought up the topic with my husband. Gary, isn't it too frequent for you not to come home?
Really? But I'm just at my mom's place most of the time.
It's not about that. At least let me know in advance. Making dinner becomes a waste.
Just eat it the next day. You're a housewife at home all the time.
What's that? Do you think just because I'm a housewife, I don't need to be informed?
Well, isn't it true? A housewife just lazes around at home.
Huh?
Besides, I'm more worried about leaving Mom alone. Erica will be back soon, and I have to talk about that with Mom.
What? Erica? Erica is my husband's sister, who currently lives overseas due to work commitments. I had no idea Erica was coming back. What would be the reason for her return? And what do they have to discuss? Erica is coming back. But is there really something to discuss with your mom? Concerned, I asked my husband about it.
Of course there is. Erica is moving in, so we need to talk about it.
Huh? Is that so?
Erica used to live in a quite spacious house overseas, and she insisted on having a similarly large house here. So, I think she'll be living in this single-family house.
Huh? The sudden news left me completely stunned. My sister-in-law is going to live in this house? Just as I finally got away from my mother-in-law? Wait a minute. This house was given to me by my dad, you know. Why is Erica going to live here too?
Well, originally we lived in that apartment, but now Mom is living there. Besides, that apartment is smaller, right? This is the only spacious house we have.
You can't just decide that on your own. I didn't plan on living with Erica.
Oh, we won't be living together. We're going back to Mom's place, and Erica can have this house.
Huh? What are you saying?
I told you. We're going back to Mom's place. Erica can live freely in this house.
My husband's lack of common sense left me physically staggered. I continued to insist that I had no intention of living together, and my husband got upset with me.
Cut it out already. You can live here thanks to me, so shut up and listen.
Don't mess around. This is the house I inherited. Why should Erica get it?
It's a shame for you to live in such a splendid house, right? Erica has lived abroad for a long time, and I've told her I have a big house waiting for her. It's too late to say it's impossible now.
I don't care. Anyway, I hate it.
All you do is complain. That's enough. Cool your head a bit. I'm going back to Mom's place for a while.
My husband slammed the doors shut and left the house. Left alone in the room, tears welled up slowly. Why does he always decide things on his own? This is the precious house I inherited, and he's giving it to his sister. This is not a joke. In the midst of my distress, I received daily messages from my husband, asking if I regretted it or telling me to come back soon. Each time I had to express my unwavering determination not to yield. Then one day, my husband, fed up with my resistance, called in anger.
Hey, Ashley, when the hell are you coming over here?
That's why. I won't say it again. I'm not going there, and I have no intention of giving this house to Erica.
Cut it out. I've already told Erica. She'll be coming back this week. Stop whining.
Don't decide things on your own. I inherited this house from my dad. It's mine now. Why do I have to let go of it for your family?
Who do you think you're talking to? Mom is angry. Don't ruin our mood any further.
What's that? You're ignoring my feelings? My husband seemed quite frustrated, sighing loudly over the phone. Immediately after that, he says something unbelievable.
If you don't listen to what I say, it's divorce. Get out by tomorrow and transfer that house to Erica.
At that moment, my love for my husband began to cool off rapidly. His despicable attitude of threatening with the word divorce angered me to the core. I couldn't forgive it. Threatening with divorce instead of considering someone's feelings, let alone discussing it. I will not let these people do what they want. My husband, in spite of his anger, continues as if triumphantly.
Understand? If you don't leave by tomorrow, it's divorce. Got it?
Seriously?
Of course. You have no choice in this matter. A housewife like you will have a hard time if something happens. Right?
No, I get it.
Good. That's all you need to know. Then hurry up and move here. My mom is enthusiastic about educating you.
After delivering this ultimatum, my husband unilaterally ended the call. After that, I explained the situation to my father and sought his cooperation for a plan I had in mind. The next day, my husband, acting confident, called me.
Hey, is packing done?
Yes, of course. I calmly replied. More importantly, when is Erica coming back?
Tomorrow.
Why are you so fixated on Erica? To my question, my husband quickly revealed his true intentions.
Actually, she's making quite a bit of money with stocks and investments.
I see. So you want to get close to her and maybe get some financial support. That sounds like something you'd think of.
Say what you want. Anyway, you need to leave by today or it'll be troublesome for us.
Don't worry. I've already moved.
Huh?
My words seemed to genuinely surprise my husband. Thinking that I had obediently followed his instructions, he arrogantly continued.
Oh, so you also don't want a divorce after all. That makes sense. It would be tough to live without income.
That's right. Although we're still officially a couple and I answered your call, that's about to end.
Huh?
Let's get a divorce. My words visibly shook my husband.
What? What are you saying? As I told you, you're going to leave that house, right? Are you moving here right now?
Huh? There's no way I'm doing that. I won't return to a house with an unreasonable husband and a bullying mother-in-law.
What? What do you mean by that? We promised you would leave that house.
Yes, that's right. I already did as we agreed. I told you. I've already moved.
Don't mess with me. If that's the case, where are you now?
Feeling the pressure, my husband's tone became faster. It was a sign that he was losing his composure. Sensing the right moment, I decided to reveal my location. I'm at my parents' place now.
Huh? You moved to the countryside where your parents live?
Yes, I moved to the countryside where my parents live, so I won't be returning back to your place.
What? Is that so?
My husband's tone expressed a sense of relief.
Well, that doesn't matter. If that house goes to Erica...
$500,000.
Huh?
I put that house, which my father gave me, up for sale. So, if you really want to give it to Erica, buy it for $500,000.
What? You're joking, right?
I'm not joking. Since the house is still in my father's name, I asked him to put it up for sale. In fact, the corporation I saw from my father was for the sale of the house. My father had told me before.
When the time comes for you to live as you like, or if you face any trouble, let me know,
he said. The appraisal result was $500,000, so we immediately put it up for sale, thinking it was a stroke of luck. I never imagined it would come to such a situation. My husband choked on his words and started cursing.
What the hell? You're doing whatever you want. I won't forgive you, you hear?
I don't need your forgiveness. We're getting a divorce soon anyway.
What the? Do you understand your position?
Being alone and facing difficulties is much better than being with you forever.
Oh, well, Erica is coming back soon, you know? I'll tell you, I'm counting on Erica's money.
So what? I told you, right? If you really want to settle things with Erica, buy the house for $500,000. If you can.
What? That's not something she can do.
Erica is making money through investments, right? If you want to settle it with her so much, you can buy the house for $500,000.
How much can Erica offer?
He continued to make excuses without a hint of apology. Seeing it as a waste of time, I confronted him. I don't have time to deal with such foolish parents and children. Did you think threatening with divorce would make me willingly give up the house? Just because I'm a housewife doesn't mean I'll obediently follow whatever you say.
Wait, calm down.
Calm down? The one panicking here is you, isn't it? I won't be controlled by you and your family any longer. I won't continue being a part of this family with you people. Don't ever get involved in my life again. Go to hell with your beloved mom. Yelling loud enough for the neighbors to hear, I said this and left abruptly. Of course, I immediately blocked his calls and cut off all means of communication with my husband. Afterwards, I consulted a friend who is a lawyer to initiate divorce mediation with my husband. It took some time, but I was able to proceed with a divorce due to my husband's fault. He is still living in that apartment with his mother. As for the return of my sister-in-law, in the end, they couldn't secure a large house, and Erica, angered by the changed circumstances, returned overseas in a fit of rage. The attempt by my ex-husband, who tried to seek financial assistance from Erica, who earned money through investments, ended in complete failure. He is now living precariously to make ends meet for the alimony payments and payments of living expenses for his mother. If he continued to live with that selfish mother-in-law, his life won't get any better in the future. On the other hand, I am enjoying peaceful days with my parents in the countryside where I moved. Recently, I got a job as an administrative staff at a small fruit orchard through an introduction from a neighbor. I am earning enough to live comfortably now. I plan to live here for some time to come. I will stay by their side as long as I can to repay my parents.